That would be interesting. And here we go. Welcome to Climbing the Pocket's Mock Draft Mondays. Who will the Vikings pick, and who's your favorite choice? Hey everybody, it's Dave here, and we're doing a second to last Mock Draft Monday. And joining me tonight, the one and only Deshawn Vaughan, right above me. How you doing, Deshawn?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back. Got some new information. Got some new people that I like. Ready to share with everybody.
And our draft expert extraordinaire, a little bit in love with the Sooners out of Oklahoma, all the way up there on the top, we have Mr. Ryan. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing well. Thanks. Excited to get through this next mock draft. Hopefully, Deshawn and I can do a little better than we did last week. I think the last BPA was not the route we should be going,
No.
at least based on what was available last week. So hopefully this will make our viewers a little happier than last week.
First off, I want to say hi to Jerome, who's joined us tonight, and he probably agrees let's not go the BPA route. Tonight, though, we will go with the route of getting in Rick Spielman's head. How do we think Rick, and in conjunction with Mike Zimmer, are going to do this draft realistically, right? Yes, we all joke about Rick wanting to trade down to own half the seventh round, but we're not interested in that. We're only interested in the top 4 rounds. So let's get ready and get going. How you doing, Raymond? Now, we're going to pick the Vikings. If I can see my screen, we're going to hit next. Drop the 4 rounds. Boom. And let's start this draft. Boom. And the first one off the board, Trevor Lawrence. What a shock. They did have Justin Fields going third, however. That's interesting.
Yep, four QBs at the top 4, man. That is insane.
Trey Lance, 4th. Oh, and here we are at our pick, and we have some. I need to move my microphone. It's blocking my screen. We have some trade offers. Okay.
Jaguars are offering us 2 4th-round picks this year and a 7th. Are all they asking for is our first tier?
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
To drop down to 11 spots. All right. Here we got the Steelers offering a 2nd, a 4th, and a 1st next year.
We're in a position where we need to somewhat win now and make impacts now. I don't think that I can see us taking that deal if I'm Rick, right?
Right. All right, and here we go. We've got the Cardiac Cards offering their 1st, drop down 2 spots, and a 5th.
I don't think I like any of these.
I don't really see the value. I think the most attractive trade down would be the Jaguars, just because you're getting 2 early day 3 picks, right? 2 4th-rounders that you can hopefully package up and maybe move into the 2nd later. But you are dropping, I think 9 spots. So
11.
That's a pretty hefty. Is it 11?
Yeah.
11.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So 11 spots. That's a pretty hefty drop down. I say we keep our pick.
That one. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Who do we have on the board? We have Devontae Smith, Micah Parsons, Mac Jones. We got a quarterback. Isn't there any one of these teams, like, say, even the Patriots, that want to get up and get
Mac Jones.
I can see like the Washington football team trying to trade up maybe for a Mac Jones or securing an offensive lineman too. There's Elijah Vera Tucker left. There's Tevin Jenkins left. Those are, I think, the 2 top guys on the board for that. Looking at what's available to us and what has recently gone. I think we would have interest in Christian Darrisaw. I think we don't have that tackle. Both tackles secure yet. And I think we'd be interested. Yeah. No, I'm saying Darrisaw is already gone. Patrick Surtain's gone. Slater's gone, and even Jalen Phillips, which I think will probably have interest. They're all gone. So taking a look here, I think a trade down would be most attractive, just given the fact that somebody would probably want to trade up for Devonta Smith and or Mac Jones, but we would then have to initiate that. So which is something we haven't done on Mock Draft Mondays, I don't think.
Well, let's.
It's always time for some new things, right?
Right. Now, who do we want to initiate with? Say we want to go down. We got to go down probably, 22, 23, 24, 25 or below to get the 2nd round pick?
Yeah, let's check.
Yes.
Colts would be down for that or something.
Okay.
I think they're 21.
So when I'm running through these, what I like to do, I think the Steelers would have some kind of interest in Mac Jones with Ben Roethlisberger getting up there.
Yeah, let's try that.
So they could be a prime candidate, but also the Redskins at 19, if you can get a 3rd round pick out of them and not have to move all the way back to 24, I think you still have enough picks to package something to move into the 2nd round while still getting a top 20 prospect.
For sure.
Well, here, let's see if they'll swap and give us their 2nd on top of that send offer. They may not.
Hey, look at that.
Oh. Hey, would you look at that?
Oh, let me kill that. All right. Cool.
Okay, so let's see who they moved up for. Elijah Vera Tucker. Quarterback, we assume they might.
Okay, the Bills offering a 1, a 5, and a 5 for our 1.
To move back 5 spots? From 6 spots.
From 6 spots.
6 spots, yeah.
And we got the Broncos. Yeah. No.
take a look to see what's available. I didn't see all the players that went. I saw Rashad Bateman just went, which I thought would be an interesting option here. Tevin Jenkins is gone. All right.
Oh, man.
Rashad, what do you see in here that intrigues you?
So right off the bat, I think Kwity Paye is kind of like the best value here. What was that pick to pick? The Steelers had the 52nd pick in the second round.
Somewhere,
the pick we got?
52nd or 55, somewhere in there.
So I still think there will be a tackle left or an interior player left on the offensive side that we can get at 52. So I would go edge here. So I think it's a matter of, do you take the ultra athletic Owe, who's super raw, or do you take Kwity Paye, who's more of the power player and can move inside? Kwity Paye, and I've seen some people compare Kwity Paye to Everson Griffin.
Right.
So I think in this case, getting Kwity Paye at 24 would be large value. He comes in, competes with Weatherly right away, maybe even split time right away, gets some snaps inside with our two nose tackles. and thrive. So I think I like that pick. Kwity Paye at 24.
You agree, Ryan?
Yeah, I like the pick. I think there's enough value there in the second round that we can get an offensive lineman that could be a contributor. I know Alex Leatherwood, who we see here at I think 31 overall on the draft.
Or Cosmi.
Leatherwood is somebody that's, I think, kind of, it's interesting. I really liked him actually in last year, when he considered coming out last year, and he decided to stay in school, and then he kind of dipped a little bit, but the athletic ability and the, his power is evident in his game. And, I think he had some sloppy reps this year. Again, from what I heard, he was battling through a little bit of an injury this year. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, but again, just something I read. So it's interesting to see him here because last year, I think he was considered like a top 15 pick. So he's an interesting one that's actually now rising back up draft boards now with his athletic scoring that came through. But, overall, I think there's going to be enough offensive tackle or interior offensive lineman available in that second round where Kwity Paye makes a lot of sense here.
Done. Kwity Paye. Great value at 24.
All right. Another interesting name there would have been Caleb Fairley, just given the fact that he, was considered a top 10, top 12 pick before that back injury. So interesting,
Yeah.
To see how far he actually slides.
This is interesting.
So moving up, we get their second and a 4, but we trade our second,
A third and a sixth for 20 spots.
That's not horrible, but that's not a terrible deal because you're getting the tackle you want. If we wait, a couple tackles are going to come off the board. But if you sacrifice a third pick, you get the guy that you want.
That is true. I mean, you go get your guy that you want. I mean, I don't hate the idea. And again, you're basically giving up a 6th-round pick for that. I mean, that's not a bad deal.
They're giving up one of the thirds.
Again, just trying to think of what Rick would do, right? Considering that's what we're the practice we're doing here today, right?
I think the last time Rick traded up in the second round was to get Dalvin Cook. I think he moved up a few spots to get Dalvin.
And second round is golden for Rick, whether it be Dalvin or Mackenzie Alexander. All of his second rounders have worked out. So let's take the trade. See what happens. We're on the board. Now we have Cosmi, Eichenberg, Randudans.
So Randudans, that's one of my guys. I like Randudans. I like what he did at the Senior Bowl, I believe it was, where he came in playing left tackle, transitioned to left guard, and there was no drop in play. And I think that is something the Vikings will value heavily especially in a year like this when you're going into next year, they'll have 3 guys on the roster that can play tackle next season and 2 guys that can play guard. So it kind of gives you that flexibility for the future, and it gives you an immediate plug and play guy.
What about Cosmere Eichenberg?
So Cosmi, I don't see playing tackle. Eichenberg, I haven't done too much on Eichenberg, but I think he probably could play guard. I think he's one of the guys that are a little less athletic and a little bigger and has more of a reach, I believe. But if I was to go with a guy, I would go with a guy I did the most work on. And I think Randudans, and I think he has that really good flexibility where I'd be comfortable playing him at either spot day one.
Tanishka says Eichenberg. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I like Eichenberg. I mean, my pick would be Dylan Radens here, or actually, I probably would go Creed Humphrey. But I like Dylan Radens if we're looking for that tackle guard flexibility there. I think he provides that. You can try him out at tackle. He's athletic, and he has a good anchor. I think he needs to work a little bit on his footwork and some hand placement. But overall, I think with hopefully some good coaching, which again seems to be spotty here. He is he's a guy that I think you can take and develop, and he can turn into again like a Brian O'Neill's type of guy. With Eichenberg, he's more of like a plug and play guy, but I think he's purely a tackle. He's probably better. He's not as athletic as like Radens or Cosmi, but like I said, he's going to be more of that stalwart left tackle that you're looking for to kind of franchise type left tackle. The limit with him is his athletic upside's limited, so that likely limits his potential, long term. So he's going to probably be a steady contributor, an average left tackle or right tackle in the NFL, which isn't a bad thing. It's better than what we have now. But I don't see him ascending to being like a top tier guy, where I think like Radens has the ability to, and if not, I think he could really excel at guard, which would be nice. Based on my offensive lineman rankings that I have, the highest ranked offensive lineman I saw left that's available here would be Creed Humphrey. I have him as my interior offensive lineman 2, behind Rashawn Slater. So, and where he limits in this situation is he's a center that could play guard. And again, I think I've talked about this in a previous mock draft Monday, that I think our center spot is not secure. I don't know if that's what Rick thinks. Obviously, they spent a first-round pick on him a couple years ago. So Bradbury, he's going to be given at least one more chance. Right. Where I like Humphrey is he can go and play left guard for you for a year. And if Bradbury doesn't work out, you have your starting center, which is more important than a left or right guard on roster with him. So that's my only, I guess, like argument I would say for Humphrey in this situation. But I think if we're Rick Spielman here, we're probably going Dylan Radens.
Radens it is. And we're
I don't think the Vikings have like a solidified plan at offensive line as of right now, which is kind of an issue. So having those guys that have that flexibility just kind of gives them a tad bit more to work with.
Right, and I agree with you. I think we got 4 guys listed as tackles on the roster. Let's see which one wins the spot.
Right.
And we have a trade offer from the Jaguars offering their number 65 pick for our 90 and 119. Move up 25
I don't see it. I'm not sure if Spielman would move up anymore. He loves his fourth rounders. So I think once you get that kind of that tackle guard guy and they get their edge people, they're going to look a little bit towards getting some depth, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
No, I didn't want to counter offer. Let's see. Previous. No. Hide. There we go. Players available. Wait a minute. Draft paused. Resume draft. What Watching players fly off the board.
All right. Here we are at 90.
Jets, 107. No, I'm declining this. I saw somebody on the board I want. Who do I want to pick? Who do I think Rick Spielman's going to have the cojones to select right now? Serious
I think we're
question.
thinking the same thing.
Ryan.
So I see Kellen Mond there.
No, I'm not thinking Mund.
No Mond? Okay.
Well, he's there. He's right there, Texas A&M. But I'm betting he goes there.
I saw someone. I think that was Davis Mills. They said was a lot like Kirk Cousins.
I've seen his draft stocks going up. Regards average out of the deal, but he does have subtle movement in the pocket, unlike Kirk Cousins. And he's not as good as RPOs. He's a pocket passer, competitive, rallies. He's a good leader. That's one of the reasons I like him. Or you can go Mund, who throws the ball to the right spot most of the time. Tedesca says Mills.
You're going with a developmental quarterback, so you never really know what you're going to get. So I think you just take whatever guy you like. I think Kellen Mond offers a little bit more athletic upside and that arm strength. Dude has a rocket. He can throw the ball. So I would lean Mond just because we haven't had that athleticism with Kirk Cousins in a couple years, and adding that in just kind of gives you a new element to the offense rather than going with somebody who is kind of like the Kirk clones.
Yeah.
Copy, right. But I mean, hey, if he's an accurate passer, that's more important than having the athleticism. Is can you get the ball into tight spaces and can you get the ball where it needs to go? So I've seen Kellen Mond not do that sometimes. So, but I mean, then again, they're developmental guys. They're not going to be great right away. So it's up to the coach to see if they can change it around.
The whole idea is they'll probably be the backup and learn and redshirt for a year. So
right.
But I think Spielman has the gumption enough to take a quarterback here. Question is Mund or Mills? Ryan, has you got your mic working yet? Nope. And it looks like Ryan's microphone has died. Tanishka agrees with you, Deshawn, so let's go with Mond.
I feel like we just drafted the next Dak Prescott.
Yeah, we may have. All right, Kansas City's offering their third at 94 for two of our fourths. Their third and a fifth.
So thinking at this spot, usually at this spot is where you start to look wide receiver, because this is where the depth in the draft goes from being more talent-based to more athleticism-based.
Right.
So if we want to move up, we can probably get one of the more athletic guys. I mean, even if we do stay, there are still some guys. Josh, I can't pronounce his last name. It's like Amader baby.
Yes.
He'll be there at the fourth round picks. That dude's ultra athletic. There is Semi. He'll be there too. So I mean, you don't really have to move up.
Yeah, I like staying where we're at. If you guys can hear me now.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Sorry. And honestly, with the Kellen Mond, Davis Mills, just to throw my 2 cents in, I know we already made the pick. Davis Mills is probably a little bit more pro ready today. And I think he's going to be more of the safer pick in terms of he's got at least at minimum a career backup, career path for him. And he has the upside, I think, to make it as a starter, maybe probably a low end to mid starter. He's got more athleticism, I think, than Kirk does. And he's got a similar, short and intermediate passing ability. His deep ball needs some work, and he doesn't. But his arm's pretty good. where Kellen Mond is going to be bigger boomer bust. He's we have a lot of tape on him, so he has shown the inconsistency that you don't want to see out of a quarterback. However, he does have that rocket arm. He's very mobile. And so if you can just kind of hone in between the ears and get him to make some smart decisions, he's going to be the better quarterback long-term, in my opinion. I know me and Tyler have debated this in the past, both on Twitter and on this show, and he would take Mills. I'm a Mon guy. I like the athletic upside and see what you can develop. But yeah, so sitting here, I know you guys are talking wide receiver. There's some interesting options here. There's a couple good safeties. Again, I don't know how important it is to get a really good safety right now, given that we have Xavier Woods. But there's some good developmental guys in Gillespie. Ardarius Washington is going to be like that small Bob Sanders type, and Andre Sisco, who's going to be more of a center fielder, which is, I think, what we want out of that second safety position next to Harrison Smith. I also like Trill Williams, cornerback out of Syracuse. I've just been a big fan of what I've seen on him. When I was watching Cisco tape, he actually popped out. Is just like consistent corner. He's got the length. He can do a little bit of everything. Probably going to be an outside guy in the NFL, but I think he's got the athleticism to even kick inside if needed. But, we need bigger corners on the outside right now with, really the lack of depth behind our two starters. So I like Trill Williams as a potential here as well.
And he's that perfect 6'2" that Zimmer likes. And here it says he's played outside, slot, and safety. So they'd love that versatility.
There's actually some safeties that I like later in the fourth round. I mean, I'm a big fan of Cisco. I like the center fielder thing, but I think there's a couple more safeties left in this fourth round as to where the corner depth drops off a bit here. So I would take Williams too.
Okay, done.
I'm a big fan of Caden Stearns later if he's available. I think he's got a lot of upside, and I just feel like those Texas athletes, they are maybe misused down in the Longhorns program. So I feel like they don't get their love, but they have a lot of really good talented athletes that just don't show up on tape because I don't know if it was coaching or whatnot. They have Sarkisian coming in now that hopefully will hopefully not help them too much because, again, I'm an Oklahoma guy, but that will help those athletes out. So
I'm going to say no to this trade.
Yeah,
I trust you, Dave.
They want too much in the later rounds, which is a crapshoot anyways. But all right, we're on the board.
One position we haven't addressed is interior offensive line.
Right.
Kendra Green's here. I think Kendra Green is somebody that's very attractive to a team like us. That's going to be more of that zone, outside zone scheme. He's very athletic. I think he played center for Illinois. I think he has the ability to switch over to guard as well. And again, going back to my Humphrey comment, he could then be the successor if needed long term, or even if Bradbury gets hurt, we'd have a competent center to hopefully come in and plug and play. He's nasty on film. I don't know if you watch him, Deshawn, but he's got some grit to him that I really enjoy. And again, athletically, he fits the scheme that we're looking at. And this is that sweet spot for Rick to take these. Even though we haven't been very successful at it with like Samia and Beavers, but this is a kind of sweet spot for Rick to take offensive lineman here. So.
Yeah, Kendra Green actually reminds me a little bit of Bradbury, just with that mean streak that Ryan was talking about. He's that great run blocker, not super great in pass blocking, but I think the Vikings would really like him. They're, a run-first team still, and he comes in, he does exactly what it is that they want to do. And I think in the fourth round, that's nice to find.
Done. And we're on the clock again.
All right, so I like Hufanga here.
Hufanga, safety out of USC. Yeah, loaded upside there. I think he battled some injuries, I think, in college, and that's kind of hurt his stock a little bit, but when he's on the field and he's playing, he stands out on that defense. So definitely somebody that I kept my eye on throughout most of my mock drafts that I do, and he is frequently visits our team on my mocks, because I think he has the ability to kind of play in a 2-split zone safety look, which who knows, I think we might even play that a little bit more now with some of the run stuffing support that we got at the D tackle position. I think we might see a little bit more of that 2-high safety look. And so he can play that. He can also play center fielder if needed. I know that he had quite a few reps in the slot and against tight ends. So he's got the size. So I really like him as a prospect here. Ali Mcneil, he's another guy that I'm a big fan of. He's a D tackle, probably going to be a 1 tech. So I don't know if he's going to kind of more fit that mold of a Dalvin Tomlinson, where he can generate some push and some up the pocket, but he's not going to be that quick, shifty 3 tech that we likely need. So I think he'll probably be off our boards, I assume, in this situation. Twyman, I know, Deshawn, you're a big fan of his. Or at least you were before that athletic testing came out. So so that's the concern there, is we didn't see him play this year. His athletic testing came in very poor, but when you watch him on tape, he's electrifying. He's he penetrates the pocket. He's quick, he's decisive, and he gets to the quarterback. I mean, he's got a ton of sacks in his college career. So I don't know why the athletic testing came back so poor, but I always try to urge people, don't just go off of the athletic testing, because there's a lot of quality players that test poorly, but they're still good athletes, or they still do well in the NFL. Orlando Brown, he's a guy that's been linked to us to trade for, had probably the worst testing of any player in combine history. And it forced him to slip down to the 3rd round. And he is a high quality. I mean, he was a starting right tackle from day one, and shipped over to the left side last year. So I think that testing, trust tape before testing, and that tape for Twyman is really exciting. So
yeah, I think Twyman put on a lot of weight. I think he put on 25 pounds of muscle or whatever. Because from his tape and to this pro day, he looks like a lot bigger, and I think that might be why he slowed down a little bit. But when looking at the defense and looking how it's being rebuilt and kind of becoming similar to that 2017 defense almost, or maybe that 2019 defense, I think the one piece that we're missing is the guy that can do a little bit of everything, kind of like that J-Ron Curse role.
Right.
So I think you can take Hufanga and put him in that role from day one and just do a little bit of everything.
And if anything,
where he's maybe
teams.
Not always. Also, yeah, special teams. So,
and I like what they said. He's a violent tackler, and I love guys that are violent tacklers. Just as long as they don't go, take out their teammate on blue. Hufanga it is.
Yeah, Dan, I advocated for Creed Humphrey, man. Obviously, I'm going to advocate for him every time. We did trade back into 25 if you weren't here at the beginning of the show, but we decided to go with Kwity Paye.
They went for it? Nope. Not for this draft. Because we're mucking. All right, here we go.
All right. We take a look at the wide receiver list to see who's still there. So right away, Anthony Schwartz pops off the page with that 40 time. I think he ran like a 4.26.
Damn.
Or something like that. And then you have Josh, who had a 46-inch vertical. So, and then you also have Fiocco, who I think ran like a 4.3 something too. So we have 3 ultra athletes sitting right here. This is take whoever you prefer. And also we got to remember now that we have McCardell, we have really great wide receiver coaching now. So I think focusing more on who's the athlete and who's going to take that teaching and put it to best use is what we should focus on. I think all these guys would do well, really. I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. I think Schwartz might complement Jefferson and Thielen a little better just because his speed forces you to account for him. So if Josh or Fehoko don't produce right away,
right,
then sometimes you can like plan for them, but with short straight speed, you always have to plan for.
Yeah,
So if
because
you
you got
just
to
send
have at
him
least one
on a go
defender
right,
on him at all times.
right, and maybe even two, because so doubling Jefferson, doubling Thielen won't really be a thing anymore because now you have to have that safety over top because he's going to take the top off your defense.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his speed. You know, I think in college he was more primarily featured in the slot. Again, don't let that be the judge of who a player is. Justin Jefferson's a very good example of that, and having players that can flex in and out of that spot is very lucrative here. Another guy that doesn't get a lot of love, and again he's a little bit lower on this list, is Amir Smith, and I forget how to say his last name, but from Iowa. He's going to be another guy that I think is going to be, he's tested a little more athletically than people had thought, and he's going to be just like a good overall athlete. There's just so much depth here. I know we have a pick a little bit later here in about 10 spots or so. I wouldn't even mind skipping a receiver for this pick just because I think there's still some really good talent, and it's still addressing that, in 10 picks where we'll have a pick of the litter still, I assume, because there are some, again, guys here. I think one of the things that we're missing here is a linebacker, and there isn't a ton of depth left in the linebacker room here in the draft. And Dylan Moses, once thought of as a first rounder from Alabama, I think he tested athletically as well, which is good. He's a former 5-star athlete. I know Rick loves those kind of guys, and he could, be picked with the intention of potentially taking over for Barr once we don't have him under contract next year. He's not the same skill set as Barr. I think he's going to be probably a little closer to more of a like a traditional linebacker, right? When you think of a linebacker, it's kind of more of like that standard thumper, but he's got some athletic upside that can pass protect and stuff as well, or get in pass protection there, but. Yeah, so I like that as an option here, just because the depth behind that is pretty poor. And again, just trying to think through the lens of Rick. Rick loves linebackers.
Yeah,
especially in the fourth round.
Getting that thumper. Yeah, getting that thumper that's important. After we saw what happened last season, getting those linebackers that can run defend, that's super important.
Done. Then here we go again. 4th and a 5th for a 4th and a 5th.
And moving up 5 spots and moving back 12 or 17, something like that. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm okay just riding the rest of this out because we're not picking in the 5th anyway. And
right.
Yeah.
Right. We'll probably have our wide receiver here anyways.
Yeah. So one wide receiver goes off, or I guess 2 went off. Neither one of them were ones that we were really looking at. I do like Daz Newsome, though. I think, again, he's another guy that tested not as impressively as some had thought. But again, game tape doesn't lie, and he's explosive in the game tape. So, I like your idea here, Deshawn, of getting that burner that can take the roof off the defense and force a single high or force safety help. Anytime he's on the field, which should open up the middle for our 2 guys who can catch and run. So,
and our tight end scraping across the middle as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Reminds me a lot of when we had what was his name, Aldrick Robertson.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's get our picks.
All right.
Let me blow this up. And why all the ads this time?
They got to make their money, Dave.
I know.
We got to help feed JR's kids. All right, so we took the we took the 14th pick, turned that into a 24, and I think it was 53, 54, or something like that. Took Quiddy Pay, then decided to move back up to early first or second round pick to go grab, like Deshawn said, go grab our guy, our offensive tackle that we wanted versus, having to see what was left in Dylan Radins. again, I advocated for Dan. I advocated for Creed Humphrey. I know you're a big fan of his, but I think Radens gives us that versatility at the tackle and guard positions, which is probably a little bit more important today than it is for the guard and center position. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on our first two picks, Deshawn?
I think, I mean, to trade back and then to still be able to make another top 100 pick after trading back up, I think that's like best case scenario. You get two immediate impact players, no matter if they're playing inside or outside, and that's really all you can ask for out of your first two picks.
Mm-hmm. And
Fantastic.
We got a possible quarterback of the future once somebody's contract is up and we let him walk because he wants some exorbitant amount of money.
Absolutely. A toolsy prospect that, again, has shown in his college career to have some amazing flashes where he looks like he'd be a surefire first-round pick, and some absolute duds that make you think, oh, gosh, can he really process the game at a high level? But I think with the tools and skill set and sitting in that QB room with Kirk, who actually is pretty darn good between the years and from the mental aspect of the game. Hopefully he can learn a thing or two and be able to watch tape with him and learn from Kirk and develop. So.
Mm-hmm. And then we got us a decent corner that's versatile at all the spots in the defensive backfield. Followed by...
Yep, absolutely. And Trill Williams, I mean, you got to love his name too, Trill Williams. I mean, I so love that name. But yeah, out of Syracuse, great player, good length, good size, good speed. Hopefully, again, more of a toolsy prospect that I think Zim can get his hands on and really develop into hopefully a high caliber player that maybe would be ready to take over as CB2 if Peterson decides to walk next year. Kendra Green, center guard. Oh, good.
No, I think he might even get time this season with how, I mean, our room got extremely thin after the Gladney incident. And then, I mean, you can't really count Mike Hughes because of the injury history. So we're really just looking at a room that has Boyd, Peterson, and Dantzler. And then we have another guy. I can't remember Hand. We have Hand too. But I mean, being that bigger guy, I think gives him an opportunity to play pretty early.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And, we like to rotate our corners as well. And again, even Dantzler hasn't proven to be the healthiest guy in the room either. Like he missed a couple games last year due to injury. So I think it's good to spend, one of our top, day two type picks on a corner, whether it's Trill Williams, that Mazuka, I forget his name, but the South Carolina cornerback that played opposite of J.C. Horn, Mukamura, something like that, and Trey Brown even. I mean, there's a lot of good corner. St. Juice that should get our Gopher fans excited. There's a lot of good corner prospects in that third, even early fourth round that could be interesting. So. So then we went Kendra Green, center guard prospect out of Illinois. Again, another athletic individual, gonna, like Deshawn had mentioned, be a guy like Bradbury, who's a really good run defender. Again, it's tough because of the style of play we do. We're looking for these athletic guys, so they're going to tend to be a little bit lighter, and then they're going to if they can get to their spot in the run game, but in the pass defense or pass blocking, they typically tend to struggle because of power, right? So we'll see if he can be an improvement upon Samia and Dozier. It shouldn't take much, so hopefully he can do that for us.
We'll see, but it fills a spot, and I think he can. Now, one of the picks I like for depth is your safety selection from USC. And then we get more.
Yeah, I think having those two guys is just, we saw, man, the depth got tested last season, and that's just not something you want to have happen again. So Hufanga, I think, plays right away. He might start off a little sparingly, but just having that tackle. We took Curse and he just did things that we needed him to do. Wasn't always on the field. Graded fantastically when he was on the field. So I think we can do that exact same thing with him, and it's going to create turnovers. It's going to create 3-and-outs, and it's just a nice thing to have for a defensive-minded coach. And then also having that thumper as like your third or fourth linebacker, especially if our linebacker that we drafted last season doesn't really come along like we want him to. Having that extra guy would also help out a lot.
I agree. And then we got, lastly, the burner at wide receiver, who runs a 4.2 what?
4.26. I am excited for Kirk Cousins' deep balls to Schwartz. I mean, Aldrin Robinson had like 7 touchdowns with us, just running past people.
Mm-hmm.
So now, and that was with Diggs and Thielen. So now, I mean, you have a similar combo in Thielen, and Thielen's still playing at a high level, and you have Justin who burst onto the scene. So Schwartz is going to see a lot of single coverage. He's on those crossing routes. He's going to kill people on those crossing routes. So I think I think we talk a lot about offensive regression and making sure that we continue to add to the offense to make sure that we can still play at a high level like we did last season. I think Anthony Schwartz stops any kind of regression. Just having that guy, and then we forget that Irv Smith is now coming into his own being the starter. And then we have so many options on offense, and still got to remember that Dalvin Cook is number 1. Mm-hmm. So I think he just gives us a plethora of weapons, and hopefully Kirk Cousins can hit everybody.
Overall, what do you think, Ryan? You happy?
I mean, a hell of a lot better than last week. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like I'm not the biggest fan of taking an edge in the first, but given where we traded back to and the value that we got back in that trade back, I think was worthwhile for us to go ahead and take Pay. I think he was, again, one of the better prospects available on the board. Again, you don't want to reach. And again, this is all based on TDN's rankings, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, these big boards for the NFL teams might have Randudans as a mid-first round pick. I mean, you see all these guys like Damon Arnett last year, thought of as like a second, third round pick, got picked like 18th overall, right? You never know who's going to shoot up the board. So I think Kwity Paye, though, is a consistent guy that showed power, explosion that we desperately need off the edge. And I think we're going to be looking edge relatively early. People say we haven't taken an edge in the first round since Erasmus James, which is very true. We've also had quality players at the edge position throughout since Erasmus James has gotten drafted. I mean, we had Brian Robinson and Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter and Jared Allen and Ray Edwards. I mean, we had quality people in that position for a long time. So the fact that we don't really, Weatherly has shown, to be quality in as a backup, but in the full-time gig, he kind of flopped last year in Carolina. So I think that we're just hedging our bet here and giving ourselves as many resources as possible, and then still going up and getting that tackle guard in Randudans. I think we really did a good job here.
I do too. With that, I want to thank everybody that watched. And here we got Mateo joining us. I want to thank everybody that watched tonight. I think we had a very good result. And too bad Tyler couldn't join us. But I think we did better. And we know we did better than last week. With that, we've got one more mock draft Monday before the real thing. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and Skol Vikings! Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skol, everybody.